All right, y'all. Welcome in. Happy Sunday. You guys will actually probably be watching this on Monday. So happy Monday to each and every one of you. Thank you for tapping in. And I hope that this video helps you start your week off right because we're going to talk about some things that are kind of exciting. I'm going to try the best that I can to report objectively about some of the findings, some of the discoveries, some of the things that were said over the weekend, rookie mini camp, a little bit of news and notes to discuss and catch up on as far as that's concerned. But the focus of today's show, be quick, short, and simple. It's actually not simple, I guess. Sports below the surface here. That's what we do. By the way, I'm Lando from the Lando Show, and this is Sports Below the Surface. Schotty had a few interesting things to say, unpacking the significance of moving Micah's locker right next to Dak's. To talk a little bit about what that means. We're going to discuss ditching old habits, old school ways of doing things, not just in the sport of football, not just in the world of sports, but across the board. I had to do some of these same exact things in school. And so I have some pretty passionate takes regarding his philosophy on day one of rookie minicamp with the introductions. And then a couple other interesting pieces of information to break down. I got all that for you. That's what's on the docket today. And I hope that you guys understand. And my whole purpose is usually it's to convey the truth, the sports below the surface truth to the true fan, people like you, men and women who deserve that truth, the passionate fans that can't always get that when you turn on the television. Okay, that's why you tap in to places like this and you get at the very least a different or a unique perspective. Okay, let's run it. What you're about to see right here on your screen is going to guide the show. And I really do think it's that important. Okay. Once again, I wouldn't be wasting my time. I wouldn't stay up until 2 a.m. writing these things if I didn't believe that strongly in it. Yes, I was up till 2 a.m. writing last night. Cowboys coach ditches tricks towards major change. Not just talk. The Cowboys' new standard keeps showing us that relationships come first under Brian Schottenheimer. That's exactly where we're going to start. Right? Because if you'll remember, we discussed this just a few short weeks ago. The aforementioned Schottenheimer said something along the lines of football is a relationship business. What does that mean? What he's trying to convey with that oversimplification, of course, is that we can't reach the pinnacle or maximize our own capabilities as a team, wherever you think that they are right now. They can't maximize that if they don't first learn to know, love, and fight for each other, the person behind the player. Some of that, yes, directly ties into the discussion we'll have here in just a few moments about Micah's locker, his locker location. All cultivated for the Cowboys by Brian Schottenheimer with culture in mind, relationships, the player behind the person. I'm sorry, the person behind the player. Get him out of here. I ain't going nowhere. All right, so rookie minicamp day one. Where am I going with this? Okay, let's unpack it. You guys know how it used to be back in school, college, any sort of event for business meetings. obviously team-related activities. The first time you get together and gather as a collective, a unit, as a team. The old school way, the conventional wisdom is, let's go one by one, single file. Everybody goes and stands up while the entire rest of the room, class, you name it, auditorium, stands there or sits there and watches you in the most out of your element way possible, and just try to speak through your nerves when you try to remotely convey who you truly are as a person. Okay. So what happens is one person is talking, trying not to sound too nervous, trying to sound cool, trying to fit in, try to deliver the perfect message. Some people just completely shut down altogether and can't even get to the point where they're even stuttering over themselves, which is a completely different realm of psychology there. But the whole purpose of kind of walking you guys down this lane first before we switch over to what Brian Schottenheimer prefers to do is getting you to understand the psychology involved here. We've all been in that position before, uncomfortable having to announce who we are, where we're from, what we like to do, our whole background, our whole life story in front of total strangers, people that you've never met before. You spend every single moment from the second you walk into that room knowing that you're about to have to, present some form of public speaking. You're sitting there, you're nervously and anxiously awaiting your moment. So regardless of what else is being said, the anticipation and the buildup into that moment to when it's your turn to stand up and speak without making a complete fool of yourself, you're thinking about you and what you're going to say. In most cases, right? Some people are completely comfortable in those moments. I feel like I am, and I feel like I always do a really good job. If those, in those moments, I'm kind of an outgoing personality in nature, and I'm obviously long-winded. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here making this video. You guys know that. It's hard for me to shut up sometimes. But not everybody's wired that way, and that's okay. But what Brian Schottenheimer understands is that it's not about proving that you're up to that moment, because that specific skill of public speaking does nothing relative to putting W's on the football field. And I say that I honestly hesitate to even say that out loud, because you guys know where I'm at. One of the monikers of this show, outside of sports below the surface, comfort kills your growth. Complacency kills your growth. You got to challenge your comfort to improve. You got to tear your muscle tissue down to get stronger. Right? You got to screw up off the field somewhere to really learn a life lesson and get better as a result of it. You got to fail as a father, as a husband, before you understand, oh, wow, okay, so this is how that goes. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Right? Comfort cultivates growth. Or discomfort, cultivates growth. You guys know what I meant. So Schotty understands this is a complete waste of time. Nobody in here is going to remember anything that anybody else said as far as getting to know each other, because everybody else is sitting there spending time thinking about what they're going to say and how they're going to try not to have a complete panic attack to get through it. So what does he do? Instead of the standard one-by-one introductions where players, stand up and awkwardly say their name, college, position, and just go through the public speaking gauntlet, if you will, he skips that gimmick entirely because he values relationships. It's a relationship business. Get to know the person behind the player. Understand your teammate. Respect your teammate. Fight for your teammate. So what he does instead, 5 to 10 minutes, informal meet and greet. Everybody stand up, just go find somebody, have real interaction, person to person, man to man. Shake my hand, look me in the eye. Let's have a conversation like we would when we're communicating in the huddle, on the sideline, on the field. It's not me listening to you speak. It's us communicating, working together to understand each other better. There's levels to this. The second, it's sort of a subliminal message here that I want to make clear. Brian Schottenheimer most certainly lives what he says. That's one contextual. That's one way to contextualize it, right there. But there are many examples, as you guys know. I've written about the pillars of change. You'll see the thumbnail on this particular article here, cowboyscountry.com, by the way. That's where all my written word goes. The thumbnail is titled "Culture Change." But that's not reactionary. I'm not saying that because of what he just said yesterday at minicamp. This has been a build, a slow climb. I've been reporting on this particular change, let's just say the pillars of change that were being indicated to us for weeks. Okay? I believe we're at pillar number 9 now. The ninth pillar of evidence that suggests culture change, a shift in organizational philosophy, right? Sort of tying hand in hand. All as a result of Brian Schottenheimer, who he is and what he values as a coach. He understands the psychology. Okay, and that leads us directly into the next point. Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons. Their locker rooms are right next to each other. What the heck does that mean? And why does that matter to you as a Cowboys fan? He's so confident. He speaks with such enthusiasm, such wisdom, well beyond his years. Even I would venture to say, young, vibrant, energetic guys like him, first-year head coaches, don't usually speak with the conviction and the depth that Coach Schottenheimer does. It's well beyond coach speak. And those are things I was saying about him 2 years ago on record, receipts. Wow, this guy's got a little different edge to him. He speaks like he understands sports psychology. He's operating as if he understands sports psychology. Micah Parsons hasn't been paid yet. Jerry Jones publicly announcing, hey, calling on you, Micah. Gotta need you to step up a little bit more. No holding out of camp. Need you to step up and assume that leadership role on the defensive side of the ball. It's you and it's our guy number 4. You guys are the catalysts. With Dak, of course, as the alpha in the building, in the room, in the locker room, on the field, in the huddle, sideline. The Walter Payton Man of the Year caliber man. Accountability, discipline, perseverance, the little details. Why? Because Dak Prescott doesn't have an elite trait as a quarterback. He wins right here. The sports psychology that's allowed him to overcome not just playing and performing at a very high level, an MVP caliber level, a Walter Payton Man of the Year level off the field, MVP caliber on it, despite being under the largest microscope in all of sports. People love to see you fail because failure is what sells, because failure is common. His arena, most people cannot fathom. Okay? That's why I've always had Fours back as far as a guy that I'm confident can actually get the job done. Because of the way that I know he's wired. My best friends, my people, one of them's an Eagles fan, Chris Wilson. Love him to death. Brother to me. Despite all the back and forth, the friendly jab, even the sometimes intentionally disrespectful banter that we have together, as any Cowboys and Eagles relationship would, consist of, he'll tell you, he knows exactly where I've been. Beginning back in 2017, 18-ish, when this discussion really began. Does he deserve to be paid? Should he be the quarterback? Because, year 3 comes around, 2018. It's like, okay, we're starting talking about rookie contract coming up. You extend in. What are you doing? You don't have a 5th-year option, all this type of stuff. I'm like, This is a dude I'd bet on. The things that the hand that he's been dealt off the field with his brother, with his mother, publicly acknowledging his own mental health as a result of life's challenges that he was presented with, all while still managing everything that's required to play the most difficult and most important position in all of sports at a very high level. A market-setting level. Since some of you are going to argue with me about numbers and whether or not he's qualified. The market dictates your price. Okay, there you have it. Dak Prescott got his price because that's what the market dictated. Did he hold the Cowboys over the fire? Absolutely. But that's a different discussion. He earned what he's gotten to this point with his play. Hasn't done it in the biggest moments yet. All that to say, guys, Dak doesn't get to the point that he is in his career if he doesn't have it together right here. Okay? We talk about this all the time too. This is one of my punchlines. Physical traits get you to the league. Mental traits keep you there. Dak's mind, discipline, perseverance, mental toughness, heartbeat. He can handle it because he's battle tested. And no challenge on the field more difficult than losing your brother unexpectedly and your mother, all within a 2-year span. I guess it was maybe 3.5 years. I'm not exactly sure about the timelines there. I have to go back and refresh. But that's why. Everybody has been questioning. Nobody questions Micah Parsons' physical ability. One of the most talented football players in the entire league. Arguably the best player at his position over anybody else. There's an argument, but arguably, okay? Hear me when I say arguably. Debatably, if you will. I don't care who you think's better. It doesn't bother me. I don't lose sleep at night. I don't care how good you think Dak is. It doesn't bother me. I don't lose sleep at night. Dak Prescott will not let Micah Parsons slip. Not that I worry about Micah Parsons slipping. Not that Brian Schottenheimer has any concern about Micah Parsons slipping. We know how committed he is to the sport of football. We know how much he loves it. We know how much he hates losing. We know how passionate he is as a player and as a charismatic personality. Clearly has a lot of energy and a lot of love, a lot of passion for the game, for the sport. But getting a young Simba to mature, to come of age, and handle all the little things, all the little details, manifesting himself into Mufasa, the alpha lion. That's what this is about. I've been in professional locker rooms, many of them. You know who the alphas in the room are right away. And you naturally sort of congregate towards those guys. You got your alpha corner, you've got your shy corner, and then you've got your slapdick corner. That's kind of your main areas of locker room culture, if you will. Okay. Micah's reputation off the field would profile him as part of the previous tenure and coaching staff in the slapdick corner. He's not a quiet guy, but he wasn't necessarily the alpha as far as leadership goes. But that's okay. That takes time to really become a pro. I didn't really become a pro and start prioritizing sleep, nutrition, and training, the extra work, like all the focusing on all the details outside of team practice windows until I was 27 years old and it was already too late. Had somebody been preaching to me when I was 18, hey, may want to think about hanging out with the seniors in your college locker rooms. Hey, may want to think about hanging out with the first round draft picks in your professional locker rooms. Hey, might ought to watch what this guy's done. Yeah, he's rehabbing right now, but maybe go talk to this former big leaguer here who's got 6 years in the show, knows a little bit of a thing or two about preparation, rehabilitation, prehabilitation, pitchcraft, not witchcraft, pitchcraft. Okay. Pick their brain, learn, build that relationship. I didn't understand that until I was 27 years old. Micah Parsons is what, 25? $25 years old. Be 26 next month. Actually, no, this month, May 26th. Okay. Micah Parsons has the elite traits that Dak Prescott never possessed as a football player. Rare athletic ability. This is very similar discussion to the one that we had with regard to Joe Milton, where the quarterback room is the perfect marriage. You've got traits as the umbrella, okay? On one side, you've got physical, and over here, you've got the mental. The physical is the sexy stuff. That's what gets you to the league. That's what teams can evaluate. But what Dak Prescott has over here is what will ultimately be the difference for Joe Milton and for every other quarterback that teams try to hit on. You stick a guy like Micah Parsons, who has all the physical traits in the world, next to Dak Prescott, who doesn't slip, who leads by example, and who takes care of the little things. What can Micah Parsons really be? He's already arguably been there hasn't been a more prolific pass rusher. Just in terms of pass rush, nobody's better. He's off the charts. Nobody's double teamed more than Micah Parsons in his career, not even Myles Garrett. And nobody has a higher pressure rate. Not even Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, bigger, more of your old school, traditional defensive end types that can actually forcefully play the run. Micah's still learning those things. But the point is, he's widely regarded as the best in the world, about to become the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And Brian Schottenheimer is sitting here showing you how he can still get better. What level can he take his game to if he's really dialed in with a film study? I'm not sitting here suggesting that he doesn't study film. Clearly he does. Could he do it more? Maybe. We'll see. A different level of focus and intentionality when you step into that locker room before you head out to the field, because you're sitting next to Dak Prescott. That stuff's real, folks. I didn't even plan on doing this, but I'll give you guys a couple of specific examples of what I mean when I say you conduct yourself differently when you're around the alphas in the professional locker room. Bunch of alpha athletes up in there. But there's only one or two alpha dogs. the alpha dogs that come to mind whenever I'm having this conversation here. Two guys that I played with in Cleveland, have immense amounts of respect for. Zach Narrier and Chase Simpson. I conducted myself a little bit differently with a little bit different level of intentionality and focus around those guys. Because the game, the details, and the discipline involved with being a professional athlete mattered more to them than anybody else. And that finally began to rub off on me when I really started to understand and get it. It was too late. I was 27. I had a kid on the way, and I was tired of making $1,200 a month and sitting on a bus for 14 hours every other day. Chase and Zach weren't late to team events. Chase and Zach were involved in the community. Chase and Zach were in the coach's office before and after practice, before and after games. Chase and Zach were always sweating their butts off in the gym every time I got there, thinking I was about to do something that most people weren't willing or ready to do. These boys are wrapping it up when I'm just now getting started. Chase and Zach were taking extra hacks before and after BP in the cage. Chase and Zach were in that ice bath twice a day, before and after every game. We played on the same team, but Chase and Zach were different level athletes and baseball players than I ever was, because of the way that they had it right here. It always mattered to me. And I always knew it was that I wasn't going to quit, right? I wasn't going to give up. But I didn't work as if I knew that it was truly me versus me. And that there was always more to do if I was willing to do it. Chase and Zach understood that. They operated as professionals well before I learned how to do so. That's what this is all about with Dak and Micah. And I believe the direct quote, or let's just say the indirect quote, paraphrasing here, from Brian Schottenheimer. I don't remember if I listed it here in this article or not. I don't believe that I did. But his roundabout answer was, let those guys challenge each other, compete a little bit, right? Elevate their standard. Two best players on the team. Push each other. Hold each other accountable. Lead by example. Brilliant. Can y'all tell I'm excited about Brian Schottenheimer? Can you tell I have been for a very long time? The last pillar, I believe the ninth pillar now, is one that's probably a little bit under discussed as far as the significance. I'm not as passionate about this one, but still, it's yet another signal to me that not only is something still in the works as far as adding a receiver goes, or operating differently with a different level of proactivity and aggression as a front office. Yeah, they're not making maybe not quite as aggressive in free agency as far as adding veteran talent to your team as a lot of us would like, myself included. But there's a shift that's well underway. And Schottenheimer is absolutely responsible for a lot, if not most of, if not all of, that shift. I wrote 3 days before the first round of the draft this year about the trait that they were ultimately after, based on the meta-analysis, the intel that I was gathering, right? The tea leaves, if you will. The things that Brian Schottenheimer was saying, but not just saying, speaking with conviction. And then the evidence compiling every time he said something, it came to fruition. The ninth pillar isn't exactly something that he said, but it's standing by what he values most, that number one trait, right? The character, the person behind the player. Stop me if you've heard that before. And now the Cowboys, being the first team in the entire National Football League to sign their first round draft pick, to officially get the deal done. It's in ink, signed, sealed, delivered. Tyler Booker, you're officially a Dallas Cowboy now on paper, and you have your contract. Cowboys were the first team to get that done. Remember when we talked about Osa? Get his deal done about 8 days before the start of free agency. They didn't have to do it 8 days before. They got it out of the way because they knew that was a guy that they needed. We're going to discuss defensive tackles next, by the way. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. Making the push to 5,000 right now. They got it out the way so they can focus on other things. Get the ball rolling. Let's get it done. Let's move on. And let's continue being proactive. Tyler Booker being the first one, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. But to me, as I began discussing in late February, there's something in the pipeline. Should be very well understood by this point, given that Jerry Jones has all but come out and said it. Substantive trades. Stephen Jones saying, yeah, we're looking for an explosive wide receiver too. And then, Todd Archer in a roundabout way suggesting, hey, there was the Cowboys tried to make waves, called about a potential or a particular AFC North receiver. We all know who that was. I wrote about it and I got mocked for it. I got called fake news by he or she who shall not be named. The evidence, Schotty's fingerprints are all around us. The things that truly matter in the world of sports, things like not how fast you are, not how big and strong you are, not what you've done, who you've been in the past, but about the person, how much you love football, how much you love and respect and are willing to fight for your teammates, and how disciplined you're willing to be, buying in as a collective. Personal, but also peer-based accountability. If you're not gonna, if you're, don't just not do things don't just not screw up for yourself. Do it for Chase and Zach. Go the extra mile for them. Do it for Dak. Do it for your teammates, for your position room, for the coaching staff, and for the coach who spends half his days in the offseason not watching film, not Not talking to Jerry Jones. I apologize. I just realized I had my microphone off the entire time. So we were dealing with internal microphone, but that's okay. Hopefully you guys are still able to hear me loud and clear. Brian Schottenheimer said that he spends half of his days in the offseason calling his players and just talking to them about life. Because when you really get to know somebody on a personal level, not just as a teammate, you love them that much more. And when you love somebody that much more, this is hyperbole, but you're more willing to die for them. Let's just say go to war on the battlefield, the gridiron. Wish I had Vach's war call right now. That's a teaser, by the way, a prelude. Something that's coming that I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for that. Join us on the push to 5,000 on here. I think Mike Fisher says it best when he says that 70,000 plus people across all the Lando show platforms can't be wrong. I'm truly humbled by that, by the way. And do us as a Cowboys community a favor by simply hitting the like button, because it's the most, the cheapest, free, but also the best way to help me and us out. Getting information like this out to the people, the true fan that deserves to hear it. Okay? Remember, prayer changes things, and the war is already won. I'm Lando from the Lando Show.
All right.
And this is Sports Below the Surface.
I am inevitable.
Talk to you guys on Tuesday.